วัสดีค่ะ very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nad Bunag live at the studio and Kun Tulip Nak Supup Lau is live from home. สวัสดีค่ะ So today, as we've heard that 205 new cases of COVID-19 have been recorded today, but the good news is that there are no new deaths recorded today.
Yes, there is no new death reported today. The announcement by the CCSA said that there's 205 new COVID-19 cases, 131 locally transmitted cases, with 58 being discovered through proactive screening, of which over 90% are asymptomatic. The rest are among those entering the country legally and in state quarantine. There are 734 new recoveries and no fatalities were recorded today. However, there are still 4,519 patients receiving treatment. The government says that the use of tracing applications is necessary to protect Thailand. If anyone becomes infected, conceals their movements, and has not been using the tracing application, it will be very difficult to trace their contacts and they will face legal action. There are now infections in 57 provinces. Buriram is the latest one to find an infection related to Pattaya. Samut Sakhon has the largest cluster, mostly discovered through proactive screening. The province total infections since mid-December has now reached 3,142 cases, followed by Chonburi at 475, Rayong at 427, and Bangkok at 364. There are 20 provinces still free of COVID-19. There are ศรีสะเกษ ยโสธร บึงกาฬ หนองบัวลำพู ร้อยเอ็ด กาฬสินธุ์ นครพนม มุกดาหาร แพร่ พะเยา เชียงราย แม่ฮ่องสอน อุทัยธานี พิษณุโลก พังงา พัทลุง ปัตตานี and ยะลา. And there are another 4 provinces which have not recorded any new infections in the last 14 days. They are Phetchabun, Kamphaeng Phet, Udon Thani, and Phuket. Now we'll be talking about the tracing app. There was a question of Moshana is something that people will just start talking about it this week. It actually was launched in April last year. It's among a lot of the, it happened with the cooperation of many universities, many experts in medical and science, and several government units. But here it is. A lot of people wonder what it is doing, because usually when you go to places, you use Thai Chana, you just scan, right?
Yep.
And it will go straight to check in and check out. But for Mo Chana itself, you have to download the app. Here is what it looks like, Mo Chana. There it is. So I already downloaded. Let's show you this. But if you wonder, okay, I already did the assessment, but it's in Thai. If you wanted to make it in English, you go to setting. Here's a setting. And then there it is. There's change the language is the bottom one. No, not this one. Change the language is the bottom one. Wait.
Where it says เปลี่ยนภาษา right? So
yes.
At the bottom, the last one is where you change the language. So
yes, the last one is where you change the language. I was clicking the wrong one. Okay, here you go. My finger there. And then English is the bottom one, like you can see. There it is. So now it's changed to English. And you can do the assessment, like in here. You go to setting, it said do risk estimate questionnaire again. And I'm gonna start. It will ask whether you have any fever, whether there's coughing, sore throat, tiredness, shortness of breath, vomit, or none of all above symptoms. I'm gonna say none of all above symptoms. And then next one, it's gonna ask whether you have been to overseas in the past 14 days. I would say very difficult to be overseas in the past 1 year.
Right.
So I would say I did not go overseas. And next question, did you get near a person who had COVID-19 risk in the past 14 days? More than 5 people around you having fever. There's a person living with you who just came back from abroad. You are in close contact with confirmed COVID-19 case. closer than 1 meter, longer than 5 minutes. But I will say none of the above. So it will go to none of the above. The next question, do you have an occupation that need to be close to foreigners frequently? This is the tricky one because in Thai language,
Right.
it's asked whether I have in contact, and my husband is a foreigner, so it's a bit different. But in English, it's asked whether you have an occupation that need to be in close contact with foreigners, so it's a bit different. In this one, I'm gonna say no. And then that's the assessment result. It's green, which means that I am very, very low risk. They have 4 levels. They have green, very low risk. They have yellow, low risk. They have orange, moderate. And they have red, which is high risk.
So similar to the 4 zones, but these are the 4 levels, the green, the yellow, the orange, and the red. But there are also differences in the questionnaire as well, both in Thai and in English, with the questioning, I believe, how they actually paraphrased that particular question. For Thai people, what was it? It's whether you have an occupation that has
in Thai, it didn't say occupation. It said whether you have to be in contact or close contact with foreigners. Where in English it said you have occupation that you have to be in contact with foreigners. So it's a bit different in language.
So that's the main difference between the questionnaire in Thai and in English in the Moshana app. So thank you so much for giving us a walkthrough through this Moshana app. It makes things a lot easier for people to understand.
The thing is, if you have Moshana app in your phone and you walk into the area that have infected people, it will actually send you the notification.
Right.
And if you walk in there and you happen in the same area, when you finish giving out your information, the information will be sent to the system. Other person know that someone that has infection is there, but they won't know specifically who. So just to give you the privacy, it's claimed that you still have privacy on your information.
As opposed to Thai Shana previously, where people have claimed that because they've been scanning using the Thai Shana app, that's why they got weird messages inviting you to gambling websites.
Yes, which we cannot prove it yet, but it happens.
And we're still on the COVID-19 situation, but many people find out about the latest updates, not just only online websites anymore, not just only websites, but also TV channels. And one of them that Thais are very familiar with is a flagship morning news program from Channel 3 Thailand called Reung Lao Chao Ni, which has been with Thais for almost 20 years now. But today, the fans of Reung Lao Chao Ni and the viewers may have noticed that there's a big difference because the anchors are actually reading not from the studio, but from a parking lot. That is because one of their employees of the TV station tested positive for COVID-19. This morning, a flagship news program of Channel 3 Thailand was produced from a parking lot, not from its usual studio, after one of the TV station's employees tested positive for COVID-19. The employee was working in the graphics department and had been in close contact with many other employees on the 5th and the 6th floors of the studio building. All employees working on those floors will be tested, while others in the building are considered as low risk, but will be under close observation. Building disinfection, as you're seeing right here, began at 10 p.m. last night, and it was during this process that the morning news program airs, hence the need to temporarily relocate to the car park. Meanwhile, Thai actress, also from Channel 3 Thailand, Thao Nattapon Temirak, announced on her Instagram story today that she, her mother, and her boyfriend have been tested negative after her personal manager was found to be infected with COVID-19. The famous actress revealed that they all went for swab tests at Ramkhamhaeng Hospital yesterday morning after they found out that her manager tested positive for the virus. She also said that she last met with her personal manager on December 26th, so that was around like 12 days ago, and right now her manager is already receiving treatment. In other news, the operator of the Bangkok SkyTrain, or the BTS, reports one of its employees has tested positive for COVID-19. The employee worked at the headquarters building until January the 5th, and his job does not involve train services. Everyone who has been in contact with the affected employee has been tested and quarantined for 14 days. The workstation of the infected employee is on the second floor of the building, which has been cleaned and disinfected, including the communal area of the building. Also today, duty-free store King Power announced that they will temporarily close its store in Rang Nam after one of their employees tested positive for the virus as well. King Power Rang Nam will close for 3 days for a big cleaning and disinfection, while other employees who have been in close contact with the infected employee have been urged to get tested and self-quarantine for 14 days. So that's the latest on the COVID-19 situation.
Just to make you realize it's just everywhere around you. I feel like so random.
Right.
I don't know, maybe it's not, but I feel like that because it's just everywhere. So, the best thing you can do is protect yourself, wearing masks, washing hands, and keeping distance.
Definitely. And we've been hearing that there are people who got infected with COVID-19, and based on their timelines, they've been to many shopping malls and public areas. So apart from the wearing face masks and keeping social distance and washing hands frequently, another thing you could also do is stay at home during this time because the threats of COVID-19 is everywhere right now.
Yes, and talking about Mochana app, yesterday Dr. Tawisin made some comment during the press conference that make people feel that if they don't have this application in their phone, they might be charged with a crime. And at the end of the day, it's revealed by the public health minister that he already talked with the prime minister, and he understands that some people will not have smartphones, so they wouldn't have applications such and such. So today in the press conference, Dr. Tawisin actually mentioned that what he said might make people misunderstanding. So he said that it will be a crime if you conceal your information. But I'm talking about Dr. Tawisin now because in light of this little mistake that he made yesterday, people start to picking on him, and there is something that people say that he got extra pay from being a spokesperson for CCSA. And today, during the daily announcement, at the end, usually at the end after Q&A session, the host, the MC will ask him whether he has anything to say at the end. Normally, he will say something about the outbreak, about what we should do and things like that. But today, he talked about his personal story because he has been attacked. Dr. Tawisin Visnayotin has come under heavy criticism on social media over his meeting allowances. It is being alleged that he is earning extra income from working in a second job in the private sector and has political ambitions, among other claims. So he said that he has to face the media every day with updates on the COVID-19 situation. Dr. Tawisin said that he has not received any extra pay for this work, which was assigned to him by Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. He said he is working with his heart, even without extra pay, because he already has his salary, adding that he is now an Inspector General of the Ministry of Public Health in charge of part of the Northeastern region. He explained that he was not seeking sympathy when he said the other day that his application to the CCSA has made it impossible to do additional work as he did before, but he merely wanted to clear up public doubt. As a government official, Dr. Tawisin maintained that his application is to do his job the best he can, but because he is wearing several hats now, as a trained psychiatrist, he has had to learn to do other duties on the job, with which he is not familiar with, such those related to the law and epidemiology. He also dismissed online criticism that he is addicted to power and has political ambitions. Dr. Thavisin admitted that such criticism is affecting him and his family, and that he cheers himself up with words of wisdom from the Supreme Patriarch, saying, "Those who were born with many people ready to help them are fortunate, but those who were born to help the others are more fortunate." He then urged the public to join hands to overcome the COVID-19 crisis, as tomorrow will be better than today.
It seems like Dr. Thavisin is experiencing a lot of drama at this time only because of the Moshana app, and that was why many netizens have started digging his secrets or some rumors, and that has led to him talking about it during the CCSA briefing today.
Well, one thing I learned from working with the media is you cannot do one thing that will please everybody. So there will be people that like your work, there will be people that don't like your work. So you just have to try your best.
Definitely. And moving on to the issue of field hospitals, recently a couple of experts say that the construction of field hospitals is necessary during this time before the hospitals overflow with more patients coming in. Dean of the Faculty of Medicine at Siriraj Hospital, Dr. Prasit Wattanapha, said today that field hospitals are necessary, especially in areas experiencing increasing numbers of COVID-19 infections, adding that such temporary facilities are intended for asymptomatic and mild symptom patients, separating them from the general public. Dr. Prasit also said that if we do not start building field hospitals now, the outbreak in Thailand will get worse. He said field hospitals are an important tool when trying to contain the outbreak and enable the effective management of limited resources. Dr. Prasit said this wave of infections appears to stem from illegal activities such as what we've been reporting before, gambling dens and migrant trafficking, making contact tracing a challenge. Many people do not tell the truth about their whereabouts and attempt to conceal their movements, so many have still not been isolated. He believes that ultimately the number of cases will exceed the number of hospital beds available, with many hospitals in high-risk areas already sending that signal. And during this time when the COVID-19 outbreak is still here, as we all know that wearing face masks is very vital, but the problem that we've been seeing, not just in Bangkok, but many areas in Thailand, especially with rural areas, what they've been experiencing is the shortage of face masks. And today we're going to take you to this local community in the northern province of Nan, where a group of grandmothers came together to solve this issue by making their own face masks. So let's take a look at this report.
เวลาว่างเนาะคนแก่มันก็เหงาไงเหงาแล้วก็เวลามันเย็บมาถักอะไรนี่มันก็จะเพลินไปหน่อยมันก็สนุก
These are handmade face masks stitched together by a large group of grandmothers who are members of the Ban Bang Puk Seniors Community in Na Rai Luang Subdistrict in Thailand's northern province of Nan. These grandmothers can sew up to 10 masks a day and up to 100 if sewing machines are used. Learning how to make their own masks is not just an activity to pass the time, but it can also help address the short supply of face masks as they give these out to people in their community.
อบต.นริหลวงเขาได้ทำโครงการอบรมให้ความรู้แล้วก็ให้วิทยากรมาสอนเรื่องการเย็บหน้ากากผ้าโดยที่ว่าให้หมู่บ้านละ15คนไปเป็นครูกอป้าก็ไปอบรมกับเขาเสร็จแล้วก็พอกลับมาปุ๊บคือช่วงนั้นโควิดมันกำลังเรื่อยๆเพิ่มขึ้นเรื่อยๆป้าก็เลยมีแนวคิดว่าก็ไปคุยกับคณะกรรมการเนาะว่าเราน่าจะมีการสอนให้ผู้สูงอายุในหมู่บ้านเย็บหน้ากากผ้าสำหรับแจกให้กับผู้สูงอายุในหมู่บ้านทุกคน
The seniors community of Ban Bang Puk received financial support, including necessary materials from the sub-district's local health security fund. The head of the sub-district also gives them additional support when needed. The grandmothers are not just proud of their work. Apart from using their free time productively, they say that they are also helping others in need, especially when everyone is in danger of being infected by the coronavirus.
สนุกค่ะแล้วก็มีความสุขด้วยที่ได้เย็บหน้ากากแจกให้ประชาชนในหมู่บ้านนะคะ
Nan province had been free from COVID-19 since it reached Thailand early last year, and it was not until January 4th this year that the province found its very first infection. Nan has been successful in preventing the spread of the virus, especially from neighboring provinces. This was the result of strong cooperation between the provincial government, doctors, and the people. The Ban Bang Bok seniors are one of many examples of how these local communities work closely together to protect each other from the deadly virus. Nad Bunag, Thai PBS World.
I remember when we went up there, the people were so nice and very cooperative, and everyone was super serious about all these measures, that wearing masks, washing hands, and keeping distance.
Definitely, everyone were very cooperative in protecting themselves and protecting the community from the spread of COVID-19. And I still remember that moment when I was trying to sew that face mask. It was really difficult for the very first time. It was like, you don't just cut the cloth, but it's more like the pattern itself, and you have to use the needle and then go like this. It was like, and then the head of the seniors community was like, no, you cannot do it like this. That is not how you sew the face mask. So she actually did a demonstration for me, and I had to do it all over again.
But did you end up get one finished? Yeah,
I think I did, but I think I left it somewhere, unfortunately.
Okay. But I think it was a good time. I think it was a good experience that we went up there and talked to people and see how strong their community are.
Definitely. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ